Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you're an SAP SD expert, you already know the business processes inside and out. But have you ever felt that there's this weird gap, a disconnect between what you know needs to happen and how you explain that to a developer? Well, today we are going to completely close that gap. We're going to talk about how to move from just being a configurer to becoming a true solution architect. Let's jump in.
This gets to the very heart of the problem. A wish list is fuzzy. It's saying, hey, I want a report that shows me open orders. But a blueprint? A blueprint is rock solid. It says, here are the exact tables, the specific fields, the logic, and all the conditions you need to build that report. And that precision? Well, that's the difference between a project that gets stuck in endless back and forth and one that just flies.
So, let's put a name to this thing. It's the techno-functional gap. It's that classic divide, right? You've got the functional consultants on one side. They know the what and the why of a business need. And on the other side, you've got the ABAP developers who are building the how. Learning to bridge this gap isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's what makes you absolutely essential to any project.
Now, I want to be super clear about something right up front. This is not, I repeat, not about turning you into a programmer. You don't need to learn how to write a single line of ABAP code. The whole goal here is to get you to understand the logic, the structure, the language that developers are living in and day out. You just need to learn how SAP thinks.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we learn to think like the system? Well, we learn the language. And in the world of SAP, there's one universal language that everyone understands, from the newest functional analyst to the most senior developer. And that language is data. The SAP data model, all those tables and fields, that is your Rosetta Stone. It's what lets you translate any business requirement into a perfect technical instruction.
And this slide illustrates it perfectly. Look at this. You might say, just get the material group. But a developer immediately has to ask, okay, from where? Are you talking about the master data level, from the MARA table? Or do you need it from the sales order item itself, from the VBAP table? They can be different. See, asking for the material group is a question. But telling a developer to get it from MARA or VBAP, that's an instruction. And that's the clarity we're shooting for.
All right, let's get into the fundamentals. The absolute bedrock of SAP SD is what I like to call the golden triangle of tables. And the first point of that triangle is the sales order. You've got VBAK, that's the header. It holds the who and when for the order. Customer, date, order type, all that good stuff. And then you have VBAP, the item table. This is the what, the materials, the quantities, and the key that links them both together is, of course, the sales document number, VBLN.
So, what are the other two sides of our triangle? Well, they're the delivery and the billing documents. And here's how they all connect. For deliveries, you've got LIKP for the header and LIPS for the items. The magic here is in the LIPS table. There's a field in there called VGBEL, which literally means preceding document. That's your sales order number right there. Same idea for billing. VBRK and VBRP are the tables, and they also link back to the order or the delivery. It's all connected.
Now for the real secret weapon, the holy grail for tracking any process in SAD. It's a single table called VBFA, the document flow table. Seriously, instead of trying to do all these complex table joins to link an order to a delivery to an invoice, which is slow and sometimes messy, you just use VBFA. It's so simple. It has one field for the preceding document and one for the subsequent document. It is, without a doubt, the cleanest and fastest way to see the entire history of a transaction.
Okay, so we've got a grip on the data now. How do we actually put this knowledge into practice? Well, that's where the RICEF framework comes in. It stands for Reports, Interfaces, Conversions, Enhancements, and Forms. These are pretty much all the types of custom things you'll ever need to build. So to make this real, let's take a look at a practical example using the R for reports. And here it is. This is the payoff. On the left, you've got that bad spec, the wish list we talked about. Show me the delivery date. So vague. But on the right, that's the expert blueprint. It's not just an ask, it's practically pseudocode. It tells the developer exactly how to get the information. Link the sales order number from VBAK to the preceding document field in the LIFPS table. And once you have that link, grab the actual goods issue date from the delivery header, LIKP. It's clear, it's actionable, and best of all, it's correct.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about leveling up with a true superpower, debugging. Now, I know that word can sound really intimidating, but I want you to completely reframe how you think about it. Debugging isn't just a tool for developers. For a functional consultant, it is the single fastest way to find the root cause of almost any problem all by yourself.
I mean, just think about it for a second.
How much of your week is spent writing detailed emails, creating support tickets, and then just waiting? Waiting for a developer to have time to look at your issue? What if instead you could dive in and find the exact piece of data or the exact line of code that's causing the problem in minutes? That's the power that debugging gives you.
And you know what? It is ridiculously easy to get started. You don't need any special permissions. You just go to literally any screen in SAP, type /H into that little command box at the top, and hit Enter. That's it. Debugging is now active. The very next thing you do, like clicking the Save button, will drop you right into the ABAP debugger. It's that simple.
And once you're inside, you really only need to know 4 keys to get around. F5 lets you take one tiny step at a time, line by line. F6 is like a jump. It executes a whole block of code at once, which is great for skipping stuff you don't care about. F7 is your escape hatch. It gets you out of a subroutine, and F8 just lets the code run free until it either finishes or hits another stopping point. With just those 4 keys, you can start doing some serious investigation.
So, we've talked about the data language, we've talked about the investigation tools, now let's bring it all home and talk about the final output, the perfect functional specification, or FS. This document is your single most important deliverable to the development team.
And here's the most critical mindset shift you need to make. Your functional spec is a contract. It is a binding agreement on what will be built. So if a developer follows your blueprint to the letter, and the program they build doesn't actually meet the business need, well, that's a flaw in the blueprint, not in the construction. Taking that level of ownership is what separates a good consultant from a great solution architect.
So what does a winning FS look like? It has these 5 parts. First, you tell the story, the why. Then you show a simple diagram, the where. Next comes the core of it, the what. That's your detailed data mapping and logic. And this is crucial. You have to plan for failure by defining exactly what should happen when things go wrong. And finally, you have to prove it's all working with clear, repeatable test cases.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question. By mastering the data, learning how to investigate for yourself, and writing specs that are true blueprints, you are making a conscious choice. You're elevating yourself from someone who just configures what's there to someone who architects what's possible. The choice is yours. Thanks so much for tuning in.